Hello everyone, I'm Enya, wishing you a warm and peaceful holiday.
欢迎全球的观众朋友准时收看《殷瑗小聚》，我们非常期待在这个时刻与大家见面。在今天的节目当中，我们为大家请到的是来自爱尔兰的歌手 Enya。
睽违了5年的这个恩雅，她终于有新的作品推出来了啊。那我常常会很羡慕这些国外的这些歌手啊。那么他们其实推出唱片时间都很长，是。那么有的时候是3年、5年，甚至是7年、8年啊。那可是每一次推出来的作品都让你觉得会惊艳，都觉得它是非常有诚意的作品。
是啊，其实每一次在这个节目当中，我们看到很多的这个新闻啊，包括很多的一些恐怖攻击事件哈，其实常常会觉得心里觉得很害怕哈，可是会觉得如果在这个时刻如果能够播放恩雅的歌曲的话，其实它有一个心灵抚慰的一个作用啊。对，
我想就像他的作品一样，我觉得他的声音很具有这个爱尔兰的这种古典美。是。那么可是他的又结合了许多的不同的音乐的元素啊，那么包括了一些电子音乐。对。那他声音又做了很多的不同的处理跟堆叠哈，所以让人感觉有一种特别祥和跟一种宁静的力量在里面。是，
我们在今天为大家请到的是来自爱尔兰的歌手 Enya。
Hi John, I'm Wenyuan. Hi, nice to meet you. And it's 5 years ago. Yes, we met.
So about Amarantine, can you share your notion about never withered everlasting love?
Amarantine it's a song, a love song, and in the chorus there's the melody keeps climbing and climbing and climbing, and it had a very positive feel to it, and love is love is love, what I was singing, and we wanted to have a word to sort of make it a strong feeling to the chorus, and that's where Roma suggested this old word that we had sung before. Amarantine I'd sung Flora's Secret in A Day Without Rain, so she suggested, why don't we use this word again? It's beautiful, it's old, and it's everlasting, never fading. So we thought it captured what the song is about.
Well, about 2 years ago I felt it was the right time to start writing melodies again. I felt that I'd gathered enough inspirations. I wasn't sure what the inspirations were till I wrote the melodies, but it felt right to sort of begin and kind of just let it take me on a journey to see what I was trying to sort of capture within these melodies. And it was 12 new stories. That's how I sort of describe the new album, that it's each album has 12 stories, and this is for the moment now, you know, the 12 new stories.
There's also a song called Sumirigasa. It's pronounced by Japanese, and the concepts come from a poet who comes from Japan. Telling us why you choose this poet. Do you have a special feeling for him?
It's, again, I was introduced to Basho by Roma. She writes a lot of his work, and the melody is first. And when I played the melody to Roma, she was reminded of his poem about him finding the wild violet on the mountainside. And we actually were inspired with the lyrics, and we were going to sing it, and I was actually going to sing it in English, because I thought, well, I don't speak Japanese, so I'll sing it in English. But the English language didn't sit well with the melody. And so this is where I tried Latin, I tried Gaelic, and then because of the word Samaragusa, I thought, why don't I sing it and see? You know, the inspiration is from the poet, the Japanese poet. Why don't we sing the Japanese to see? Would it go with the melody? and word for word, it's a slow melody. It suited it, and this is where we don't actually, to begin with, pick a language. The language actually comes much later, and it's kind of like, again, because we take our time with the arranging, and we feel when it's right, we know. So we try and we try and we try, and then it was like, this sounds good. So we just decided, yes, let's try Japanese.
Do you feel the Oriental philosophy in there, in this song, or is different from Western style, the philosophy?
Yes, it is. It is very different. It's very beautiful here, your philosophy. I'm so drawn to it. You know, this is one of the reasons that I love being here, is because the cultural difference is, you know, so vast to Irish culture. And I enjoy it so much because I was brought up surrounded by a lot of Irish culture. And when I travel, I am very observant to different cultures. And what you believe in, what you enjoy, is very different to Irish people. And that would be in itself, I know, an influence when I go to the studio to write, because I feel a lot of sort of moments that when I'm traveling, or landscapes, or moments that are so beautiful to me, will come to the studio, and then they evolve in a melody. You know, so I definitely know that, you know, being here would be an inspiration to me.
Where I live is very picturesque. It's overlooking the Irish Sea and the Wicklow Mountains. And first thing I do before going to the studio is go for a walk very nearby. And it has a very calming effect. It has a very humble sort of effect on you as well, to be so in touch with nature. I find that, of course, it would be inspirational. And I have to say that at the moment, it's where I live, and I find possibly it's because of the landscapes or my family are there, but at the moment it's where I choose to live.
And I'm sure about your experience with Nikki and Roma, and as we know, you work just like trio, and it's a long-term
from
cooperation.
The beginning. Yeah. It's 20 years working with them. But someone sort of said to me, would you change that? And because we've been together for 20 years, but not a lot of albums. So this album, we're very excited working together. So if we had 20 albums, yeah, maybe we would get tired working with each other, but our experience is always so exciting to go to the studio, because we always gather ideas, because we take time from the studio, and because you know, this album was 2 years putting it together, not 5 years, but in between that time, I have gathered a lot of inspirations and ideas for melodies, and I'm performing. Nikki is gathering ideas, Roma is reading poetry, gathering ideas, so we get very excited when we come together to work on an album.
So you cherish your friendship?
Oh yeah, because I feel we encourage each other, because when Roma said, we worked on Lord of the Rings, the soundtrack, and Roma had studied the Elvish language that Tolkien had written, and she said, well, it'd be so lovely to sing this very old fictional language. And I did. But the idea then came, why don't we work on a fictional language? Roma sort of said, maybe it would be nice. And our feeling in the studio is, why not? We always encourage each other, so we're very creative in that way. We never feel, if one of us has an idea, we always feel, let's try it and see what happens. So that is something I find, it's quite sort of encouraging, and it's quite new then, because you're always trying new ideas. We don't go to the studio and think, we'll do what we did in the last album. We kind of go in with the idea of 12 new stories. And what are they going to be about? We don't know. So it's quite unknown for us as well. So it's quite exciting.
Not very clearly. Roma actually wrote out the words for me phonetically, because it was being put together as I was singing. so I didn't have enough time to learn what the font was. But it was, the first song was Water Shows the Hidden Heart, and we had the lyrics written. I went to sing it in English, and it was a case of where the English language didn't fit with the melody, and then it was Roma who suggested about the fictional language, and she came in with the first line, Siumbraea, and I sung it, and it's a very slow melody, and it worked. And so she sat there and she just kept expanding on the language for each line, but she worked closely with me as well, because when I firstly sing a melody, I actually make sounds. They're very sort of vowel sounds, so she based it also on some of the sounds that I had sort of created while I was putting the melody together. So in that way it felt very natural to me. It was a sound that I was used to, so it worked really well.
在今天的节目当中，我们为大家请到的是来自爱尔兰的歌手 Enya。其实这两个名字加起来对我来讲都是非常具有吸引力啊。第一个就是我非常喜欢来自爱尔兰的歌手，因为我觉得每一个人做的音乐都非常的传统啊，但是有非常的个性啊。那像 Enya 的话，她的这个歌声呢，你又会觉得非常的空灵啊。然后她的这个销售成绩可以到全球6500万张啊，你就会了解，其实她的这个声音已经代表了一种独特的一种语言了。
对，我觉得他不只是说在销售量很好，而且他在这个Grammy Award 上他得过了3座的格莱美奖。是。那在专业上他受到这样的肯定，而在销售上来讲也获得了所有的这个全球的听众一致的这样的一个肯定。是。我觉得是因为说他的音乐里面真的是有一种抚慰人心的力量。是。它是一种可以让你坐下来听，你就可以放松，你就可以进入他的世界的这样的音乐。是。而恩雅本人呢，其实他的这些隐居生活他非常非常的低调哈。我们在这次的这个访问当中，其实他接受非常少的这个访问。那我们今天有机会能够访问到恩雅，其实我觉得是非常开心的一件事情啊。我们今天继续来欣赏恩雅的访问。
But we know you. In your music career, you are very low-key in your performance. There's a quality of tranquility, and there's also a mystic image for us. And how do you deal with your art career and your private life? That's how I want to know your life and your music. Yeah. How do you balance your performance and your private life?
Yeah. Again, to go back to Watermark, the success of the album took me by surprise, and the record company, and Nicky and Roman, and all of a sudden I'm traveling around the world promoting the album, and this takes quite a time, and so it's like 8 months later and I'm still sort of traveling, and I felt I actually sort of felt, was it necessary to travel anymore? Because I felt it's very different to sort of travel and promote, and some parts of it after a while gets very sort of unreal, because this is not the way you really live your life. To be in a country, in a hotel, and to travel to Australia, to America, to be in Taiwan, to be in Japan. So it's not very normal. So I felt it was important to me to get back to sort of normality as such, and also I felt a little bit uncomfortable to live my life in the public eye all the time, because I felt the music would suffer. So I felt like it's important to step back. And I've been lucky in regards that the music, firstly, sold by itself before anybody knew who I was. And I've always felt that that's important to me, that people enjoy the music firstly, and then they can get to know me as a person. But I always felt that there's this time where I can actually step back. And I feel I've said everything about the music. I have nothing else to say. So I have a very normal, and it's quite private, life.
People called your music New Age music or the healing music. During the 9/11 terrorist attack, some media, also in Taiwan, some media choose your song to play to soothe the people's mind. They're hurting. Yes. Yeah. So, is there one of very important concept in your album or in your music the healing part?
It is something that has been there from Watermark. It's not something that I can impose on the music.
Okay.
When I'm writing a melody, I have to say I just concentrate on the music. I don't think of the listener, of who's going to listen to it, is it successful. I forget all that. I just get very sort of lost within the melody. And what's important to me is that I am trying emotionally to say something within the melody. And I want to capture this and a strong melody, put it together. So the fact that people find it healing is just, to me, it's a bonus, because I cannot think to go to the studio and think I'm going to write music that is going to be healing. I don't know if you can do that. I just feel that if you capture an emotional feeling, that I think people are aware that it goes very deep with me, the thoughts, the reflective sort of moments, and this is coming through in the music. It just happens for me naturally that there is something that people feel deep about the music.
I think with any music now that it's, music has always been there for years as a form of escapism for people, because in the world we live in, it can get very sort of, it can go at a very fast pace, and a lot of people lose sight of who they are, what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. And I feel that now that people are turning more and more to music, and whatever the music might be suits that person, but I feel that it's very important to take that moment, because I think firstly they listen to the music, but then I think secondly they start to question how happy they are. Is this what they wanted to achieve? Are they happy in their work? And I just think music in general makes people very reflective, and I think that is really important.
从第一张专辑《Watermark》到最近的这张《永恒之约》，恩雅用她最诚挚的对音乐的态度，也赢得了全世界爱乐迷对她的肯定。
是我们在这边要非常谢谢您的收看，我们更要感谢的是薛导播以及在电台现场所有的工作人员。因缘小聚，我们下次再见。
I'm Enya. To all my fans in Taiwan, thank you for your support. Wishing you a happy new year.